Okay, so you can, so to create your a repository, after you click the new repository, give it a repository name, make sure it's always public, and then if I put something here, let's say ML assignment, I already have something called that. So you can see it shows create repository. It shows create repository, and then you can click on it, but I don't need it. So once you do that, let me go to, so let's say you have created that. So I want to go to one of the repositories that I have. Let's say I have a repository called machine learning. So, or ML, so you can call yours assignment or whatever you want to call it. So if you want to, after you've done you've created a notebook in your Anaconda, the Jupyter Notebook in your Anaconda, you will come here to upload it. How do you upload it? Click on your repository, and then you can come to, if I want to add file, I can add file. Let's say upload files. Okay, then it will take me here to choose your file. So if you click it, it's going to take you to where you can, where your directories, your folders on your computer. So locate where you have the notebook. Maybe it's in downloads, your IPYNB, and then click on it to upload it. Once you have uploaded it, click commit changes. All I need is just this URL, the URL of the assignment that you have already opened after you have opened it. For instance, let me show you the ones I already have. So this was also an example. Let's say this is assignment 1. So after I've uploaded it, you just open it and then copy the URL. So once you copy that, go to your Canvas dashboard, go to assignments, go to assignments. So let me switch to student view so that you can see the way you will see it. So go to your Canvas dashboard, and so you will already have this. This is what you have. So this is what you are seeing. So I will just go to assignments, and then have I created assignment for you? Okay, so I think I haven't made the assignment public to you. So, okay, let's say assignment 2 is what I want to do. So you can see, just click submit assignment and drop the URL here, Control V, sorry. So, and then you can submit assignment. So once you do that, I will receive it. And once I grade it, you also get it in you'll get a notification through Canvas, but you will see the feedback on your GitHub, I believe. So, and then you can, so that's how you submit assignment. Any question on that before I take you to Anaconda? I'm just trying to show you what and what you need, what and what you have. Any question on the GitHub? Any question? Okay, so without, in the absence of question, the last thing is your Anaconda. So if you have installed it, we send links for you to install the version compatible with your computer. So if you have installed it, just start it, like click your start button and type Anaconda. I'm not using Windows laptop, so but it's the same. If you just click start and then type Anaconda, it will show up. Click on Anaconda Navigator, and this is what you're going to have. Can you see my screen? Anybody? I just need someone to confirm. Can you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So,
Yes.
so this is what you're going to have. And so you have PyCharm, you have all of that. Later, we're still going to use either PyCharm or Visual Studio Code. But for now, we'll stick to the Jupyter Notebook in Anaconda. This is because it helps you, it saves you from the stress of installing the basic Python package. You don't even need to have Python installed on your computer to use it. It comes installed with Python. Yeah, yes, Python 3. So just click on the Jupyter Notebook and it's going to load, and it can ask you which web browser you want to use. Choose any web browser of yours. So This is what it gives me. Now I don't have a folder there already for your class, so I can, oh, that's not what I want. So that's if you want to open a new notebook to do your assignment, you can click new and it will do that for you. And you can also have a folder. So I want to have a folder called, so I can rename it. I mean, you can watch YouTube on how to use Jupyter Notebook in Anaconda and all of that. You can, but basic thing is what I'm showing you. So I can name it whatever your class data science with Python, but and SQL. Okay, so this is where I'm going to be uploading. I mean, so now I want to, I've not, the notebook I'm going to use today, I've not even downloaded it from Canvas. So I expect you to download it. So just go to your Canvas dashboard. Let me go to my home and download the day one. So always download that before the class. I waited till now to show you. Okay, so download it. So click on it and download the day one or whatever topic is being called. So, and then you can go back to your Anaconda and then upload it. So I can upload my, the notebook I just downloaded now. I hope I'm going to find it. Okay, yeah. So this is it. And so it's uploaded, and you can upload data too. The data, there are so many data in your Canvas dashboard. It's there so that by the time we start working with data, you have things to practice and all of that. So you can also upload it to your Jupyter Notebook inside Anaconda. And then if I click it, this opens the notebook that we're going to go through for today. Before I move on, any question, please feel free to ask questions. You know, in school, we've been constrained. We are afraid most times to ask questions. No, this is not like that. No, please feel free, ask questions, but let's just be in orderly manner. So any question, please. Are we good? Okay. So if there is no question, I'm going to take just 30 seconds excuse. So then I'll be back. All right. So I understand there are a lot of people, internet is actually kicking them out. I mean, I understand what internet could be in the country, but I expect you to just put in your best. That's the only thing it requires from you, the internet investment. Okay. So I know there are, please, I want everybody to be muted unless you have a question, please, just to remove background noise. Okay, so.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sorry, please, can you start from this thing, the first step? I didn't get it.
What do you mean first thing?
The first step after opening an account.
Is it how to launch your Jupyter Notebook or what?
Yes.
Okay, did you get to this point?
Yes.
Just click launch. Just click launch. Click launch. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so once you click launch, it will take you to this place. It will take you here. You may not have so much there. Yeah, just download the notebook just like I showed you. And I created a folder because I just want to put all the materials for your class in that folder. You can also come to new, click folder, and it will create a folder. And then if you click that, like if I click this folder, I can rename it. So click the folder, because if you click folder, it will put untitled folder. Then you can click and rename it to the name you want. And then like I did, then you can click upload and upload the notebook that you've downloaded to read, like I did here. That's all.
Okay.
All right, so you can be muted, please. Okay, so we're going to quickly start what we have for today. Let me show you, I don't know if I've opened a kind of a PowerPoint I wanted to. Okay, that's, sorry. Tech. Okay. Okay. So yes. So I mean, I just put up. I don't use PowerPoint to teach, even though I can. I do that professionally, but I believe this class is hands-on. But I just want to show you the little, like the difference, or like just to lay the background for you. A lot of people have heard of many terms: data science, artificial intelligence. Oh, I'm not interested in artificial intelligence, but I'm interested in data science. Actually, do I have to be a computer scientist? Do I have to be in computer science to be in artificial intelligence? Well, in the past, yes, but recently, not really. So you can come from any field as far as you have some basic background in mathematics. So I just put it there to see the overlap between both and a little difference between both. The For data science, mostly, excuse me, is more of working with data, like applying some data operations, some data cleaning, data exploration, data visualization, and eventually building maybe a machine learning model. And you can see the tools. You can use R, you can use Python, you can use SAS actually. Unfortunately, they don't teach SAS in Nigeria. Uh, SPSS, I mean, is there, but I don't really agree. The reason they put it there is because at least you can use SPSS for linear regression. And but it's not, they don't really use it in developed world. So I won't advise you. I will advise you to move beyond that. TensorFlow, we will not get there because that is about deep learning. Keras, we'll use scikit-learn because we're going to do machine learning. Okay. And then the applications. This is actually more, there are more applications than this, than what you have here. We have, like here you are saying advertising, marketing, internet search, and whether in the banking industry, in engineering, you can apply it there. But AI has to do with applying machine learning algorithms to apply machine learning algorithms, to solve problems. So most of the kind of data you have in AI, they are not rows and column. They are unstructured text data. That's where natural language processing comes in. It can be in images, in computer vision. So those are some of the things I'm doing, but I started from the pure data science and now moving to AI, but it's not a must. You can stay with data science, like the main aspect of data science of working with data and then building a model. You can stay just right there. You don't have to move into uh, computer vision, natural language processing. However, even if you don't get computer vision, a little bit of knowing how to work with text data is, I will encourage you, because most times now, almost every organization is getting data in text, maybe customer feedback. How do you pre-process customer feedback and you build a model like sentiment analysis to analyze? For instance, a lot of people buy product. When you buy product, let's say from, okay, Jumia, or I don't Konga, they can ask you for a feedback, maybe in words or in ratings. Now they get those words as data. How do they use that words? How can they use it to make informed decision? You can imagine they have 1 million reviews, feedback, and someone, maybe a customer care is going through, or someone who is the data analyst there is now going through each feedback one at a time. That's a pain, going through 1 million feedback. That's a lot of work. But having some knowledge of working with text data, like I can build a word cloud to visualize the text, to see I will just throw all of the 1 million feedback into a word cloud, just raw like that, and I can pre-process it, and it will show the words that people frequently use, maybe bad or terrible. It can show it. It will show all of that word, but the bigger the font of those words, the more the words are called. So that can easily tell the organization, the management that, oh, a lot of people are not happy with the product. And then I can now further start, maybe I can build a topic model to see what kind of topics people are. I mean, that's text. That's text. You don't have to get to that depth, but at least just some basic knowledge of working with text may help you, may also add to your toolbox in just pure working with numbers and all of that. So that's just one difference. And I put this chart for you to see the relationship between artificial intelligence. Is about developing intelligent system. Like the ATM you are seeing, it was some machine learning, some AI going in there that once you slot in your ATM card, it should propagate you, like it should propel you to ask, like to answer a question, like, oh, enter your PIN. You will see them by the time we are doing if the control structure, if else, if L, if S, by the time we are doing that, you will see. Because we want you to start thinking not as the end user, but as the creator of these things. The creator, that's what this artificial intelligence or data science will build you to do. Then, so you can see the intersection of everything you can see is data. They are all working with data, whether as a software engineer, whether as an AI specialist, data scientist or data engineer, they are all working with data and data wrangling. So you can see that there's no data wrangling with AI. There's no, because the data is not rows and column, images, text. So instead of data wrangling, what you'll be doing there is like data pre-processing, but it's more of building intelligent system. But data science, you will do a lot of data wrangling, and we'll get there with part of what we'll do. And it's mainly used for business, companies such like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, those ones are using also more of AI. But other than that, majority of organizations, both in Africa and even here in the developed countries, are using just pure data science. Okay, so that's that about the short presentation with PowerPoint. Any question before we start the Python basics? Any question again? So my first assignment for you is that before now and before next week, one, you're going to create a LinkedIn account if you don't have. It's free, it's professional, and you put your profile there. Yeah. Although I know one or two people have been sending friend requests, I won't accept your friend request now until I see that you are truly, truly serious and all of that, because it's a professional platform where you connect with professionals. So until I see your seriousness in this, and then we can build a relationship together and all of that. Then two is that you must follow us on Instagram and even YouTube. You have to subscribe to our page. You have to, okay? That will inform you of things that we have. So this is, if you come to Instagram, just type Highly Tech. I think Henry is already following us. I think so. So others you have to. So it's actually a must. If you are part of this program, then you have to follow us on Instagram. And also go to YouTube, type Highly Tech, so you can have access to some of the free training that we made public. We have other training, but these are the ones we made public in case you want to learn something in Excel, HTML, SQL. So this was where I taught like 9 minutes how to work with text, just basics of text using Python. So I made it, so it's public. You can use that. These are more of some of the things we might look into. Decision tree is advanced machine learning. Data manipulation, we're going to get there. So working with Anaconda, launching it. So just assess them, NLP, some of the things I was talking about. So you can watch some of the, but you have to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is also a must. Because that will give you access, so that if you are asking some question or you are lacking some basics, I can point you to our YouTube, the particular video on our YouTube. So those two things: create a LinkedIn account. You have to subscribe to our Instagram and our YouTube page before next class. Any question on that? So I'm actually not checking the chat. So, okay, so I have the, Mr. Dami is there, the HR is going to answer you. So any question and before we start the Python basics? Remember I said you do not have to know Python. We're starting from the scratch. And I'm going to leave room to ask questions. Please, no question is stupid. No question is nonsense. No. What you don't know, you don't know. Please ask. This is not a training to show how skillful you are. No, you are here to learn. Even though you might know something, you are still here to learn, and you will also unlearn some things that you are carrying that is actually wrong. So feel free to ask any question, no matter how you feel is not relevant. No question is irrelevant, please. Ask. By the time, I will always ask you if you have a question, and you can wait for me and you can move me back. Even if I move forward, if I'm moving too fast, let me know. Oh, you are moving too far. You can drop that in the chat. Please, this is a training and we want you to come out equipped and lay like a foundation for you to even move higher. That is it. That's the goal. Okay. So so we're going to start with just the basics of Python, or even in any programming language. There are some basics that are general to every programming language. One, you always start with what we call variables. What are variables? A variable is just like a name, like a storage name, a name that points to that points to values that you store in your computer memory, so that if you want to access those values, you just need to call that name. That is it. So a variable is just a name that we use to store something. Okay, so that's what we call variable. And there are different variables that you can create. And I will show you how to create one. This is hands-on, okay? So, but there are different variables. You can have a variable that points to integer values, like negative and positive values. You can have variables that points to floats, that points, even some points to strings, and so many. So variables are just names used to store values in your computer memory. But there are naming conventions. You can't just call anything name. For instance, I can't start with a number. Let's say I want to name something and I say, oh, 45 is the name, and I'm calling it, and then I assign values to it, 1, 2, 3. If I run that, Python will give me error. It says cannot assign cannot assign to literal, because you cannot start a variable name with a number. No, rather I can call it integer. And then if I want to see my name, if I want to see the variable name, in other programming, in other IDE, what are IDE? IDE is just integrated development environment, like PyCharm, VS Code, you have to write print, you have to write print and then call back your variable, and then you will see, oh, integer, it has actually stored the value 1, 2, 3 to the name integer. But in Jupyter Notebook, I don't have to write print. Okay, I can just call back the variable name. Okay, but if you have many things you want to show, you have to wrap them around print, or otherwise Jupyter Notebook is by default, it will only show the last thing in that notebook. Okay, so that's a variable name. You can make your variable name informative. I'm talking about float. Why not use something that will make me remember that, oh, this thing is storing a floating point? The reason you make that informative is because many months now, if you go back to your code, I've met with a lot of programmers and they have, Kudus, please, you are trying to write on the screen, please don't do that. Okay, so I've met with a lot of people, and from experience, we realize that when you are writing code and you are not conversant, that you thought you're only writing it for yourself for just now, many months from now, when you come back to it, you may struggle to understand the code you wrote yourself. Because why? You do not make it informative, you do not comment your code. I will show you how to comment code and all of that. In fact, an example of commenting code is what I just did here. Once you start with a hash symbol, anything you put after it is commented. It will not be run. It's for you to understand what you're doing, or to make your code readable to other people when they read your code. So let's go back to naming a variable. A variable name must start with either an underscore, like here. It will still run, but so like this, it will still show, but I would advise you not to ever start a variable name with underscore. Doesn't make sense. We only use it for something that is relevant. Okay, so start with an alphabet. You can mix a number with it, number 1, 2, 3. I can, but as far as I do not start with a number, it will still work. Okay, then do not use keywords. What are keywords? Those are special words to Python. For instance, int, you can see the color changed to a green. That's to tell you that this is a keyword. And I mean, it will work, it will run, but it will be confusing later. It will work, but do not use it, because int is a keyword for integer. Okay, mainly if I want to convert something to an integer, let's say a string, and that will lead me to, so that I'm done with a variable, naming variable. I said naming a variable, do not start with a number, start with an alphabet. You can start with underscore, but it's not advisable. Make your variable name informative. Then I said do not use a keyword. Any question on that? Are we good? Can I move on? Any question, please? You can unmute and ask. Okay, so I will take silence to mean that you all understand, you all understood what I've just said. Okay, so let's see the different types. Remember, we said variables can point to integers, can store float, can store strings. Let's see how to, what we mean by strings. Strings are anything you enclosed in a quote, either single quote or double quote. I can use single quotes like this. So this is a string. Even though I'm putting numbers inside of it, it's actually a string. Okay? Remember, the goal of this course is not to teach Python, but I just have to familiarize you with the basis of Python, because we're going to be using Python to work with data. Okay, so the first 2 weeks may not be that enjoying for you if you have some knowledge of Python, or is this all we're going to be doing? No, we're going to be working with data. And if everything we have, if you have data you are using in school, I hope so, you can practice them. But we also have data, okay? But we'll come to that. All right, so this is a string. And it could be words like, oh, boy, but anything you wrapped inside a double quote or single quote is what we call a string. Okay, so and then I name it str1. You can name it anything, okay? And then if I call on it, it brings out the value I've stored into it, which is boy. But that's a string. Why? Because it's enclosed in quotes, single quote or double quote. We also have floating point. What is a floating point? Anybody? What do you think a floating point is? In 10 seconds. Anybody? What's a floating point number?
A number that has
Number.
decimals.
Yes, a number that has decimals, decimal point numbers. So I can call these, so float, if I type float, you will see that is a keyword. You can see it's in green. So if I want to make it a variable name, not keyword, I can add a number to it. You can see it changes the color. So like 10.2, 20.5, things like that. So that's a float. An integer, we've said that, we've done that before. Int 1 equals to, let's say, 25 or negative 25. Integer can be negative or positive, okay? But it has no decimal point. So that's how to do variable assignment. Now, we don't call these equals to, because programming languages or Python or ever all programming languages, but now we're dealing with Python. Python does not see it as equals to. We call it an assignment operator. So this means I'm assigning the value boy to str1. I'm assigning the value 10.2 to float1. I'm assigning the value minus 25 to int1. That's what it means. If I want to say equals to, then it has to be double equal sign. But that will lead me to another variable name, another variable type or a data type called Boolean. So because by this, I'm asking Python that is str1, is it equals to boy? That's what that means. That is a question. Is it equals to boy? Obviously, what do you expect? It's going to tell me, let me see. So let me wrap this like in quotes, and I'm asking him, is str1 boy? And it tells me false, it's not. So that leads to Boolean. What is Boolean? Boolean is binary, true or false. So I've said two things. One, double equals means equal to. That's what the equal to we know is double equals to. So a single equal sign means assignment. I'm assigning this to this variable name str1. That's what that means, okay? So, but Boolean is a true or false something. So if I say this is equals to true, for instance, if I say str2 is equals to true, and I say, oh, let me check the data type of str2. Let's see, does there anything called type? See, it tells me the type of str2 is bool. We stand for Boolean, meaning is a Boolean. If I do the type of str1, it tells me, watch, it tells me it's a string. Str stands for string. And if I do for this float one, is going to tell me is float. So things like that. So I've also chipped in how to check the data type of what you're working with. Am I too fast?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. So please always let me know. I want to make sure you get something out of this, okay? So that is how to start. We've started from the very basic variables. Variables, a name that stores anything in your computer memory. You can point to a float, numbers with decimal point, an integer, a string. A string is anything you wrap around, like you enclose, that is enclosed in with a quote, single quote or double quote. We have talked about Boolean, true or false, and you can check the data type using the type function. Okay. Now, what about multiple assignment? I mean, quite a number of you are gurus in mathematics here. and even the engineers here, the economists. What does this mean in mathematics? A equals to B equals to C equals to 1. What do you think it means? Anybody?
It means 1 is assigned to all the 3 variables.
Yeah, it means A is equals to 1, B is equals to 1, C is equals to 1. So if I do A times B times C, it's still going to give me 1. So I've shown you a multiplicative operator, in case you don't know, is asterisk this. And also show, and we've done basic maths, like, oh, this is A times B times C. A is 1, B is 1, C is 1. So 1 times 1 times 1 is also equals to 1. Okay, so that's what it means. And you can, so we use that if I know this, and A is a variable, B is a variable, C is another variable. So we have 3 variables here, and they all have the value 1. So we use this if you know that, oh, all these variables are having the same value, then you can use a single line to, to initialize them. Languages like C++, Java, you have to declare their data type, like, oh, I have to declare the data type to be int and all of that. But in Python, you do not have to. And that's why Python is kind of easy, all of that. So then this line, this also means something. Anybody, what do you think A comma B equals to 5,8 means? Anybody? I think Dimeji is the one answering question. Dimeji, please, I want someone else.
Means A equal 5, B equal 8.
Thank you. So that's what it means. This means A is equals to 5, B equals to, so Python takes, it also takes note of the order, the order of the variable that you place. If I put another one, C, it knows that the third number, it belongs to the third variable. Now, suppose I just did, I did not put a number there. What do you think will happen? Like A comma B comma C equals to 5,8. Do you think it's correct? Anybody? What do you think is wrong here? Is there anything wrong there? Who want to try? You don't have to be correct.
There's no value assigned to C.
So yes, that's what it means. So if I do that, it's going to give me error. It tells me that, oh, not enough values to unpack. Expected 3, but I gave 2, meaning it expected 3 values, but I'm giving 2. So what do? Just give another number, well, the value. So A is 5, B is 8, C is 7. So I can do A times B plus C. And it's going to use the BODMAS that we know. Multiplication comes before addition and all of that. And it tells me, oh, this is 47. 5 times 8, 40 plus 7, 47. So that is that about variable assignment. All these are still very basics. It's going to get more interesting from next class. And you can read ahead. You can walk ahead. I know a lot of you are, you are gurus, you are I don't know what name to call you. So you can practice ahead and do all of that. It will help you. The better you get at programming, the more data science become easy for you. But you don't have to be an expert in programming to do data science. Okay. All right. So let's we've talked about some data type, but these are data structures. So let's look at some basic data structures that we have in that we have here that we can talk about. So we're going to talk about strings today. Next class, because we are going to go straight into the class. Not today. We took a lot of time explaining the basics and some things, GTOP and all of that. But next class we'll cover list, tuple, and dictionary. We'll cover that in a single class. And maybe function. In like 2 or 3 weeks, we're done with the basics, and then we'll now start moving into main Python, main data, working with data and all of that. So that's where things, but if you do not catch it at the very basics here, you may be lost as we move on. So I would advise you understand the basics very well. Okay, so before we move, these are the data structures we're going to look at, but before we look at that, let's look at the some other things. I will skip this one, complex numbers. I mean, there you can use a complex function to turn a tuple. Don't worry about tuple. Just see it as a bracket with two numbers separated with comma. You can turn it to complex. Like some of you that did mathematics, you knew this, the first number as a real number, and the one that stands before the J is an imaginary number, things like that. So, but you don't need that here. I just put it there for you. Okay, that you can explicitly call it 4 plus 5i or 5j, or you can turn two numbers to a complex number and do all of these there. So, but where I want to move on? The different ways to assign variables. Like we have, when you do plus or equals to, is actually the same thing as s equals to, for instance, if I do x plus equals to y, is the same thing as saying s is equals to x plus y, meaning I had x to y and I assigned the result back to x. For just to use to make it clear, I have two values, two variables, x and y. X is 5, y is 13. Now, my end goal is to add 5 plus 13 and assign the result back to S. I could do it this way by doing, I could do X is equals to X plus Y, like this, meaning add the value X, value 5 and 13, which is 18, and assign it back to S so that S is no longer 5, but now 18. Let me comment this out and call back my X. You see, it tells me 18. So I can do that, or I use the shortcut of doing X plus equals to Y. So what it means is it's going to be X plus Y equals back to X. So that is that. And I can do the same thing with subtraction. Like this means X minus Y, whatever the result, assign it back equals to X. So in this case, 5 minus 13 is minus 8, and assign it back to X. You see, it's going to give me minus 8. You can do that with division too, like this. This means X divided by 13, and assign the result back to X. So if you do that, it's going to be decimals and all of that. And so, and you can do that with multiplication too, like this. This means X times Y, and then assign the result back to X. 5 times 13, 65, assign the result back to X. And you can do that with raise to power. I've not talked about the operator to raise something to a power in Python. You use, I know in some programming you use caret, but in Python you use double asterisk. This means S raised to power Y. So if I do that, S raised to power Y is this. So, but suppose I want to assign it back to S like I did, just put equals to. This means X raised to power Y, and the result, assign it back to S. So if I call X, you see, it gives me that, oh, X is now this long value. So I've done quite a number of things here. A shortcut for incrementing, like adding two things, multiplying two things, and assigning it back to a particular variable. And I've also introduced the exponential operator. Any questions so far? Any question? Are we good? Or I'm moving too fast, or there's something you don't understand that I've explained before? Feel free to move me back. Any question, please? Okay, I understand. Students don't like asking questions, but please do ask questions. Okay, so another one, we have the logical operators. We have the and, we have the or, we have the not. You don't have to memorize this. You just, everything you're going to do in this class, you please do not memorize. If you do, you will forget. But as we go on, I will show you how not to memorize, how to get it working in Anaconda or in Jupyter Notebook, or even in Visual Studio Code or PyCharm. I'll show you how you can do that. You will not memorize, because real programmers or real data scientists, they do not memorize, and they don't know everything on top of their head. They have a way of figuring them out, and I will show you. Those are things I want to correct in the education you and I have had, which is different from what is actually out there. You do not memorize, because if you memorize, I just give you a matter of few months or few weeks. If you're not practicing, you will forget. But this practicing will actually make you to remember as we go on everything. And there are ways to understand, to get this thing without memorizing. Okay, so how do we use this and? Remember, and when you say A and B, that means for those of you in computer science, you did some of these things like and, or, X, or, gate, and all of that. What this means, and just mean that like the two conditions have to be true. When you say A and B, that condition have to be true for both. Or means either one, either A is true or B is true. Not is just the opposite of whatever condition you state. That's all. So I put an example here where X, I declared three variables, X, Y, Z. X is 5, Y is 8, Z is 13. And here, so the condition is actually the second line. The first line is just the variable assignment. We've talked about that. Now, these two conditions, I'm saying X is greater than Y and Y is less than Z, or let's put Y is greater than Z. Now, we know X is 5, Y is 8, or let me even put less than here. Now, the first condition is false. Y is 5 is not greater than 8. So this will even make this to return false. Yes, because one of the condition does not hold. X is less than Y. But if I put X is less than Y, and we know Y is less than Z because Y is 8, Z is 13. So 8 is less than 13. So this should return true for me. You can see. So this, what do we call this true and false? What kind of data type did we call that?
Bool.
Boolean. Yeah, bool is a Boolean data type. So it's going to, because it's a question. I'm asking that is X greater than, less than Y, and Y less than Z. So it's going to give me true or false. So it's a question, and that what it will give you is called Boolean. Okay. So that's how we use this. And if you can do not, and you will see how we do that by the time we start our loop that we, or strings. You will see how we work with all the control structure, like the if elif, if else, and all of that. Okay, so we are getting there to start strings. Another one, these are the operators. Like I talked about logical operator. These are membership operators that you want to check if something belongs to something. Like let's say I have a string or a list. Don't worry about it, we'll get there. Let's say we have a list that says that has, let's say we have apple and we have banana, we have, and then we have orange. And I say, oh, so I said for, don't worry about the code. For loop, don't worry if you don't know. I said, let's say I'm saying A, if I want to check that, or let's say I want to write for loop, I say for A or for I, anything. It doesn't have to be I. For I in L1. What do? Print I. So all I'm saying is go through my list L1. So you can use, I'm using the in operator. I'm saying go in there. So, someone has told me before that I can use for I is in L1. No. Just use for I in L1, meaning you are saying I is anything. I is just like a counter, something to help us go through the list one by one. For I in this list, print I. So the first time I is going into the list L1 is going to start here because in there. So it's just going to go there. So and it's going to print apple. The second time it's going to print banana, and third time like that. So if you do that, you just have what we have there. But and if I say for I not in, that means I'm saying not in that place. So obviously, I'm sure I'm going to get error because what is I not in there, things like that. But you will see how when we're working with a little bit of text, I will introduce you to a little bit of text under string. So you might see not in and all of that. So that's how to use the in operator. Don't worry about for loop. In is just trying to check what is a member, if that thing is a member of the list you are given or strings. So that's all. You will see how to use that as we go on. Any question, please? Please always let me know if I'm too fast, if you're not getting anything. Any question? From what we've discussed so far, any question? Are you good with everything?
Sir, for
Yeah.
the list you
No,
just
sir.
printed,
Okay.
the list you just printed, what
Yes.
if you want to print out just a particular string?
Okay, like Apple, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll get there. It's on that list and we call it indexing, but I don't want to move too fast. Like I know Apple is the first thing and Python is 0 index. So I can just put 0 there and it will give me Apple, things like that. But don't worry, we'll get to list and then how to index. We'll see that in strings, but that's just how to see. And if I want to print the second one, I just pass in the index. Index is the position. And Python starts from 0, unlike R. R is not 0 index. R starts from 1. For those of you who have been using R. So don't confuse the two. But Python is 0 index. It starts indexing from 0. So if I pass in 1, I'm saying give me the second element there, which is banana. But don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there after strings, we'll get to list, but that will be next class. Do I answer your question, Vera?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Someone was trying to ask a question. Who is that? Any question?
Yes, sir. I didn't really understand the for I equals
No, don't
in.
worry. Don't worry.
those-
Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry about for loop. We'll get to
Okay, sir.
loop. Okay. Yeah, I just use that to explain the in operator. Don't worry about that. We'll get there. Okay.
All right, sir.
Yeah. So let's move to strings. String is a data type. Remember, we want to look at the different data types. We have strings, we have lists, we have dictionary, we have tuple. Those are the four core data structures that you need to know, even in any programming language. Yes, and especially for Python. For C++, they talk about array, but Python does not have an array. Under array, then you are talking of NumPy array, and that's working with data, or for those in mathematics to do matrices and vectors and all of that. We'll touch a little bit about that so that you can know the matrices you are solving by hand, you are memorizing 2 by 2, 2 by 3. You can do this thing with Python and all of that. You can write the code to add, to transpose, to do all of those things you're doing in math and star. We can touch it a little bit, but I will not go too deep into it. Okay? Yeah. So that's that. But so we want to start with the first data structure, which is strings. I've kind of talked about string when we're doing variable assignment, like, variables can point to strings, and we said a string is anything that you enclosed inside a double or a single quote. Even if it's a number that's inside the quote is a string. Okay, so and one thing you should know about a string is that a string is immutable. When I say immutable, it means once you have defined it, you cannot modify it. Yes, you cannot. You cannot update it. You will see. So that's one by immutable. For instance, I have a string, a string which I save in a variable name called S. And what is the string? Machine learning is useful in every career. That's the string. Is a text value, so it's string. Okay. Now, so if I call back my S, it just prints whatever I have there, right? Now, what if I want to change? Okay, I'll get there in indexing. What if I want to know the length of my string? How can I check the length of my string? Anybody, how can I know the length of my string? What if I say, can't find the length of this string? Are you going to count one by one? I mean, you can do that, but what if I have 10 sentences? Will you count? So how do you do that? Someone is trying to answer.
We use a len function.
Yeah, we use the len
LAN.
function.
Yes, so some of you are already Python
Len
programmers.
S.
So for those of you who are Python programmers already, please be patient that this man is teaching basics. Please be humble, okay? Okay, we use the length function. Thank you so much. So we use, is a short form for length in R. I'm saying R because I know some of you in statistics, you might have dabbled into R. So just to be seeing the difference, you use R use the full word length, but in Python is len. Okay, len and passing your variable name s. In my case is s. So if I do that, it's 42. But what you should observe is that when you are trying to find the len, it also counts the space in between. It counts the space as part of it. The space is part of the length. It's not just going to count the letters, but it's going to count the space also. So the space, we call it white space. White space, it's seeming the space. Okay, so when you find the length, you're also counting the space. Okay, so that is how to do that. So let's do string indexing. I showed Vera a little bit about indexing. The way you index a list is the same way you index a string, is the same way you index tuple, is the same way you index dictionary. So once you know how to index from string, we're just going to be applying the same concept when we move to other data structures like list and all of that. So how do we index a string in Python? Let me start by showing you this picture, then move back to show an example. Like I said, Python is zero index. So there are two ways. Is either you start indexing from the front or from the back. If you're indexing from the front, you pass in zero positive values. Like this is a string, the Avengers. Now, if I want to get the first letter, I'll just pass in the index 0, the H index 1, E index 2. You can see the space as an index because it counts it, and then like that. But if I want to index from the back, it starts from -1. So the last element is from the front is index 11, but it can be a pain counting. But what is the shortcut? Just pass in -1. That means the last element. Second to the last, -2, like that. So you can index from the front or from the back. So the question is, how do you know when to index from the front or from the back? If I obviously need the last element and I don't know the index, just pass in -1. That tells me the last, or second to the last, -2. But if let's say I want to find the third element, I know that's going to be index 2 since it starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, like that. So that explains everything I'm going to do here except the last one. So let's say we already have a string S that says machine learning is useful in every career. So I'm just going to ask to the same thing I've just repeated. How do we get the first element, machine? What's the index I will pass to S?
0.
0. So, but you index with a square bracket, a square bracket. If you want to index, whether in string, in list, in tuple, you index with a square bracket, and then you pass in the index of the element you want to retrieve. In this case, is the first element, which is M. And you do that, and that gives you this. Okay, that gives you M. So, and if you want to index the third, remember, it starts from 0. So the third index will be what?
2.
2. So, and that gives you C and all of that. What about the last?
-1.
-1. Yeah. So, and that gives us the last element. So, before I explain this, let me throw this to anybody in the house. How do we reverse this string? I want to reverse this string. How do we do that? Anybody?
-1 to 0.
S -1. So how do I do 2? Do you mean TO or what? How do I do that? Okay, that's fine. You don't have to be correct. Anybody?
We use a column. -1 column 0.
-1
column 0.
0. Okay. Let's see. That's Kudus. Oh, sorry, I have to. Like this. So
Yes,
if I
sir.
do that, it gives me nothing. It just gives me an empty string. Okay, I'll come to that when I want to do slicing, which is the next thing. So don't worry, I'll come to that. Yeah. So you have an idea, both of you. Vera says -1, Kudu says :0. You have, I'll merge the idea and just put in what you're missing there, and then you get it. Okay, that's fine. So let's use another string just to go to slicing. So all we have been doing is indexing, and it's kind of similar to slicing. Slicing just means we want to get more than one element. We want to retrieve more than one element. You know, here we've been retrieving just single element, first, last, and all of that, the second, the third. But what if I want to get more? I want to get, let's say, the first 3 or the last 3, the first 5, the last 5, things like, oh, I want to reverse it. Then we call that slicing. So that's string slicing. Okay. So we have another string called the Avengers. So we want to slice. We want to get the first 3 elements. So what I need to do, I'll just pass in my variable name. Let me run this cell so that I can use it here. So the variable name XTR1, remember a square bracket. So in slicing, you use a colon, like what Kudus was trying to say. You use colon. You use colon to slice. So the first 3 elements, we know that to get the first element is 0. So I can use 0:3. Now, remember 3 stand for the 4th index, the 4th, 0, 1, 2, 3, that's 4. But when you are slicing, it does not include the last number. So if I put 3, it will not include the element at index 3. That's position 4, it will not. So this will just give me the first 3, 0, 1, 2. It will not include the 3. So it will give me THE. So let's see. So you can see. So this gives me the first 3. So we slice with a colon. And the first 6, don't worry, we'll get to reverse. We'll get there. The first 6, how do we do that? Just the same idea. What do we pass in? Anybody?
0:7.
0:7. That gives me that. But I can even remove the 0 because I want to talk about the first D. So if I do not pass in anything, like I do not pass in anything before the colon, Python just see that I'm saying everything from the beginning to the number before the 7, which is the 6th element. So if I do that, it still give me the same thing, you can see. So the way it works is what you specify where it should start before the colon, and you specify where it should end after the colon. So if I do not specify anything before the colon, it starts from the beginning to the second number I specify. And the same thing, if I put 7 and I do not specify anything after the colon, what do you think this is saying? Anybody?
So the last index.
Exactly. It means start from 7 to the very end. Start from the element at position 7, not 6 now, to the very element, because it will always include the starting. It's just the last number in there that it does not include. So this is that. So this starts from position 7. If you count the Avengers, you will see that N is at position 7, you can see, and it gets to S. So you can see. So that is that. So what if I want to do, so I've explained this. What if I want to find element between position 6 and 8? Anybody? SCR1.
That's from 6:9.
6:9. Oh, okay. Why is it 6?
6:9.
6:9, right?
Yes,
Okay,
6:9.
so if you do that, yeah, that's correct. So the one at 6 is this, and then 9 is at E. So it should give us just 6, 7, 8, ENG, because it's not going to include the 9. So that's correct. Now, this goes back to reverse. So I will do reverse before doing this step. Actually, reverse is also a form of step. Like I want to move in step. So I will try the other one. I will re-ask you the question again. So let's say I want to move through the Avengers, but I want to move in step of 2. Sorry, today we're not going to be able to do the lab section because of we waste time. So, but from next week, normally I'm supposed to teach for like 1 hour, and then you do the lab section for like, sorry, excuse me. And then you do the lab session for like 40 to 45 minutes. So, but because today we have to go through a lot of things to get you prepared, we're not doing lab session, but you will have a lab session next week by God's grace. Okay, so so back to what I want to say, that to suppose I want to go through the Avengers, but I want to go in step of 2. Like after the first element T, I want to move to E, I want to move to the space, and then A, move to E, like in step of 2. So how do we do that? Who want to give it a shot before I give my answer?
You can use a for loop.
For guy, you are too advanced. Don't do for loop. We are not yet in for loop. Okay.
I'll create a variable.
You guys are too smart for this class. You are too smart for this class. We already have a variable str1.
Oh, you can use a double column.
God bless you. Are you Uwem or Peter?
Peter Uwem.
What's your first name?
Uwem.
Uwem, okay, because we saw your, you sent email, blah, blah, all of that. So it's actually bringing your real name, Uwem, so Peter, not Uwems. Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Thank you, that's correct. So you use double colon. That's the same way to reverse. So I'm saying go from the beginning. So if I put, remember I can put 0 and I may not, go from beginning to the end. But so to the end, that's why I'm using double colon. And I'm saying, so what I pass after the double colon is the step. The step of what? Step of 2. So if I do that, you can see it start from T and it skips H and move to E, skips the space and move to A, skips the space V and move to E, like that. So, and it will even work even if I don't put that. So remember, you may not specify anything from the beginning. It means go from the beginning. So that is how you move in step. So let me re-ask you the question. How do you now reverse? Going from the last to the end, okay?
-1 colon 0.
Okay.
Then colon -1.
Okay, this man, you know math too much. -1 colon 0, and then colon what?
-1.
Too much of mathematics. So is this what you want? Let's see. So let me retype the string here for you. The Avengers. Is this what you want? But yours ends with H, but it's supposed to end with capital T. After S is R. So you actually got the first one, but this second one something is going on here. You didn't catch this. So something is wrong. Vera, you want to give it a shot? Okay.
Yes. What of -1 then double colon?
Okay, so -1 double colon. That's all right. So you have S. Now, I want you to understand what's going on here. Uwem told us something that if you want to...
I know what I'm doing.
So -1 colon -1 colon -1.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let me use the style Uwem gave. Uwem said, if you want to increment, we just go from beginning, we use double colon, and you want to increase in step of 2, we put 2. If I want to go from the back, I just put -1, that's all. Instead of, this is saying go from the back to the beginning in step of 1. You see, it starts from S and it ends with capital T. Does it make sense? So,
yes, sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir. Thank you, sir.
just in step of 1. And if we want to go in step of 2 from the back, we just change it from -1 to -2. This means go from the front to the back, but in step of 2. So it starts from S, then move to E, then move to N, then move to V, then move to space, then move to H, like that. So the double colon is step, but how it should go is what you will put here. Remember, if you want to go from the front, you specify positive value. That's why we specify 2 then, meaning go from the front to the back, but in step of 2. If you specify negative value, it will go in step, but starting from the back. That's just how it works. Okay, so I know we have like 10 minutes. I will stop because we'll stop few minutes to the last one. But before we do that, let's look at string methods. I know we are beginning to cover ground, but so you will get there. We're beginning to cover grounds now. But if I'm walking too fast, please just let me know and I will slow down, because there's no point teaching if you don't understand. There's no point. The goal is that for those of you who makes this class, who are here, who will dedicate, you must learn something. You have to. Okay, you have to. Okay, so let's look at the method. And this is where I want to show you the strategy not to memorize functions, not to memorize. This is what I want to show you. And this only works in Jupyter Notebook. It works separately in other IDE like Visual Studio Code. We're still going to use that as we go on, because you may need to deploy your model as we go on. So I pray God help me to give you all of what I want to, but let's see what we can do. So I'll show you how to access this method without memorizing. Now we have another string called the mind is the center of excellence. That is the mind. That is this string. The mind is the center of excellence. Now, I want to count how many times, let's say I want to count how many times a particular letter, character occurs, like letter E. I want to count how many times letter E occurs. You don't know the name of the function, but because you want to count, you can check, does Python, does string has any method called count? You don't have to know it before. You can check. How do you know the different methods that are applicable for string in Jupyter Notebook? Call the variable name str2. It knows that str2 is a variable storing character. So if you put dot and press tab, did you see a window pop up?
Yes, sir.
Those are the methods that
Yes,
you can apply on this string. And you can practice using them. You can practice them one by one. So let me repeat that. If you want to apply a method and you don't know the name of the method, you want to find out what method is applicable to string, when we get to list, we will apply the same concept, or tuple. Just call the variable name str2, put dot and press tab. And then you will see the different variables, the different methods. So we call it a method. As we go on, I will tell you the difference next class, the difference between a function and a method. I'll tell you. They do the same thing, but they are called different names because of the different ways they use them. So, but I will tell you, I will show you an example. So we want to count how many times letter E occurs in this string. So let's look for a method called count. We have it here. Even if you don't know, we know count starts from C. If I put C, it reduces the list to just method that start with C, and I can call count. Now, because it's a method, it must end with a parenthesis, a round bracket. It must end with that. And so if you want to know how to use this, the documentation for this string, how to use it, you can, on your computer, do you observe that I've not been clicking on run here? Do you observe?
Yes, sir.
I've been doing shift enter. If you want to run a cell in Jupyter Notebook, just press shift enter and it will run. If you want to check the documentation for this method, your cursor is still inside. Just press shift tab. Shift tab. Sometimes it will respond. Sometimes I have to run it. It may give me error, and then I can go back and press shift tab for it to display. Sometimes I don't know why it works like that. But if you want to see the documentation, just press Shift Tab. If it doesn't work, run it like that by pressing Shift Enter. It may give you error, but go back and put your cursor inside and press Shift Tab. So you can see it tells us what this method does. It says it returns the number of non-overlapping occurrences of substring. What is a substring? It's just an element inside a string. In this case, letter E is a substring. So I have to pass the substring there. So I pass it in quotes, pass E. I want to count how many times E occurs. So if I do that, it tells me E occurs 8 times. So you can see we have letter E here. We have, so that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6, that's 7, that's 8. So you can see. So suppose like you're working as a data analyst or data scientist, and people did, like the example I gave at the very beginning, about 1,001 million people threw in text as their feedback. You want to count how many times the word bad occurs. Just put the whole of their feedback inside a string, and then count, maybe just put count and put E there and put bad there. It will tell you. I can count a word, so like THE. It tells me it occurs 2 times. So not just a letter, because it's a substring. THE is 2, it occurs twice, things like that. So that's how you use the word, the method counts. So I'm going to stop here because of the time, but I will take questions for the next 2 minutes, and then we'll continue from here next week. So these are the exercises that we'll get to. And so for every class, there is an exercise that you will do in the lab session. But let me stop here and take a few questions before we wrap up the class.